The last we saw of Trafalgar Law, he was utterly defeated by the off-screen king Marshall D. Teach, otherwise known as Blackbeard, but luckily, the only other valuable member of the Heart Pirates, Beppo, was able to step in. He popped the blue M30s from Dr. Chopper, and he was able to take 3 Blackbeard pirates out and escape with Law in tow. This has led many Law fans, including myself, to speculate where he could be headed next after this defeat. So today I want to get into some of the potential destinations for the Surgeon of Death. The first and most likely place I could see Law and Beppo ending up would actually be back at the land of Wano. I think this would be one of the best places for Law to, kind of recover and regroup from that last battle. And I'm sure the people of Wano would be more than happy to help him. He just saved the country a couple weeks ago, so they would probably hook him up with, the food, medicine, maybe even a temporary ship, anything he really needed to get back in the game. However, if Law does go back to Wano, we know from there's really only 3 main islands that you can go to. When Law, Kid, and Luffy were planning to leave, they drew sticks on which direction they were going to go. There was southeast, northeast, and then just normal east. So 3 different islands for them to go to. But at this point, we know Egghead Island got Buster called, pretty much destroyed. They took the Mother Flame, and we don't know much else. It's probably ruins. And then Winter Island, where Law just came from and fought Blackbeard. Probably not a good idea to go back there too soon. So the only option left that we know of would be Elbaf. And I'm going to be honest, I don't know if Law wants all that smoke at this point. I know there's a lot going on at Elbaf at this point, so maybe take a few days in Wanda before you think about departing anywhere, if that's where he ends up going. Moving on, the next destination I could see for Law is not actually a place, but an organization, and that would be Cross Guild. If Law is able to find Cross Guild and, convince them to let him join and be a part of it, that's endgame right there. I mean, that Cross Guild is going to be in the final race for the One Piece, which is uncovering, the history that Law also wants to uncover. So you got benefits there, and then also you got Buggy, Mihawk, and Crocodile, powerful ass allies. So you're not going to get fucked with. There's not going to be another Blackbeard situation where your whole crew and ship gets decimated. Cross Guild is also, a culmination of all these former warlords that band together because now they have no place to go. And Law is technically a former warlord of the sea. He had a very brief run, but he did have the title for a little bit, so he would fall in with the rest of them. I also selfishly want to see an interaction between Law and Buggy, because you would think Buggy is the hard counter to Law, in terms of devil fruits anyway. If Law were to use amputate and try to cut off Buggy's right arm, Buggy does that anyway, so he would probably still have control of it, you would think, or maybe it comes down to hockey, but I need to see that interaction regardless. The only problems that I would have with Law going this route would be, one, Crocodile is basically just pre-time skip Doflamingo. I mean, he did the same thing to Alabasta that Doflamingo did to Dressrosa, so I don't think Law would be too happy about that. And then also, speaking of Doflamingo, I really want Dofi to go and join Cross Guild himself. So obviously Law and Doflamingo wouldn't be working together in the same organization. Those heads would butt. So I think, me personally, I would rather take Dofi joining and then Law going somewhere else. But it's a cool concept either way. Staying in the fields of organizations, another one I've seen floating around could be Law joining up with the Revolutionary Army. Once again, we have some goals that align. Both the Revolutionary Army and Law want to oppose the government, take down the world government, while also exposing the true history of the world. It's also what Law wants to do. We also do have some Revolutionary Army members that would be familiar with Law. Vankov, super brief interaction, but she saw him take Luffy out of Marineford. And then more prominently, Sabo, when he was in Dressrosa, he would probably put the pieces together. Oh, this is the guy who was helping Luffy take down Doflamingo. So you got a little bit more connection there. However, the two glaring issues, once again, with this theory would be, one, does Law know where the Revolutionary Army is located at, unless he's secretly been communicating with one of their members and, is in touch with them and knows where a base is at? He probably doesn't know where. And then that's the other thing, where they are located, or where they most likely would be located, is on the other side of the red line. So he would be doing a lot of backtracking to, get back with the main group. That's, Dragon, Ivankov, Sabo, Koala. That's all the main ones. Like I said, he could go to a smaller outpost or a smaller base, but super unlikely. The last less likely idea that might happen would be him actually wanting to go get revenge on Blackbeard immediately, because it's not like Oda to necessarily kill off characters that quickly. So Law's crew is most likely alive. It would also benefit Blackbeard because if he holds them hostage, they would make great bait to try to get Law to come back, and then you steal his devil fruit from there. You try to trap him again. I do think this would go against Law's characteristics, though. He is supposed to be the one who thinks things through and is very strategic. He comes in with a plan. So I think he would know that he is underpowered at this point. He could not take that on alone, and he would have to go find someone to help him train his hockey or go find stronger allies. Which leads into my last little selfish idea, which would be just have him go to Elbaf. We know he needs a new ship. They got plenty of Atomwood there. Go let him get in on the hockey lessons with the Straw Hats because we know they're going to need it. It just makes a lot of sense. We could get a lot of boxes checked off if you also just send him to Elbaf. However, once again, there are holes in this. Of course, we do have Kid off the coast of Elbaf in the water drowning somewhere. So if you send Law there, then you have Kid, Law, and Luffy. You got the boys back together again, which it's only been one arc since we had them teaming up against Kaido and Big Mom and all that. So it would probably be a little too soon to have that reunion. But also, last time they departed in Wano, both Kid Law and Luffy were all confirming that the next time they meet, they're not allies, they're enemies. Like, the alliance is over, so they wouldn't exactly be friendly if they were to meet again anyways. But with that, I hope you guys enjoyed me just spitballing some theories at you, just trying to do whatever I can to fill up these break weeks in between the new chapters. But as always, make sure you guys let me know what you thought of these theories down below. Where do you think Law is headed to next? What do you think he's going to do next? And until the next one, peace.